Well, that was unexpected. So with the announcement of Shredder's Revenge, I thought this would be a great opportunity to go back and play every single Ninja Turtles game ever made. As you can imagine, that is a ton of game. I mean, they've been in nearly 60 games. So to make this actually possible, we cut out all the mobile, portable, and surprising amount of electronic handheld games. We were left with 16 mainline home console TMNT games that we need to play, with a few extras sprinkled in. And I'm gonna try to split this up in sections based on what version of the Turtles were out and popular at the time. Doing it this way makes it fairly digestible. So without further ado, let's jump back to December of 1987, where Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would debut on American television. A family-friendly adaptation of the much darker in tone comics, the show instantly shot the Turtles into mainstream popularity and was one of the most popular animated series in television history at the time. So you can imagine with that kind of popularity, video games were bound to be made with the IP. So in a 4-year span, there were 19 games made. We're gonna play 5 of them. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for NES, TMNT in the arcades, later ported to the NES as TMNT 2 the arcade game, TMNT 3 the Manhattan Project for NES, and Turtles in Time in arcades, later ported to Super Nintendo as TMNT 4 Turtles in Time. For the second and fourth games, we are going to play the original arcade versions, mainly because I want to get the best experience possible from these games to give them a fair analysis. We will slightly touch on the home console ports later, but for now, let's jump into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1989. At first, I was actually kind of impressed with this game. It's got good sprites for the time, a nice looking overworld map, and plays fairly well. All 4 turtles are present, and you're able to swap between them at any time. And for the most part, they all have their unique uses, like Leonardo's more of an all-rounder with decent range and damage, while Donatello has very good range and damage, but super slow attack speed. They all have separate health bars and inventories, making for a kind of strategy element to the game. When you see a health pickup or a secondary weapon, you have to kind of pause and look at your turtles and see who really needs the health or who doesn't have an item at the time. Once you get a little deeper into the game, you realize it's essentially a Metroidvania. You're going to be constantly backtracking if you missed an item in a previous level, or going through levels multiple times to refill your health, and that's where the game kind of lost me. I was having a decent time in the first few levels, but the difficulty quickly ramped up and the game was flooded with just enemy spam. Once all 4 turtles die, it's game over. And the fucking water level. I was so distraught by this level that I had to look up if I was doing something wrong. I had no idea going in, but I guess this level's infamous among hard water levels. The objective is to swim through a maze and defuse all the bombs hidden in the water while dodging electricity traps and seagrass apparently that just kills you. You need to go into this level with at least 2 full health turtles if you plan to beat it. There's some parts where the walls are just filled with seagrass, and trying to take it slow will only result in you taking more damage. It's better, easier to just swap to a turtle that you have on full HP and just damage boost through the entire thing. Not to mention the water current randomly changes as you're playing this level with almost no visual indication. Oh, and the entire level is timed, by the way. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I don't like this game very much. Backtracking and just unavoidable damage are not fun to me, and I'm sure this game has its fans, but I'm not one of them. Anyway, let's move on to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, released in the same year. Unlike the NES game, we have a 4-player cooperative beat-em-up that much better fits the Turtles IP. Thanks to the better hardware in arcades, we also get a nice visual upgrade, beautiful sprites, and an art style that makes this game fun to even just look at. Nice variety in level design and enemy types makes it hard to get bored playing. Being able to throw a ninja at the wall behind you, seeing them splat and slide down it is super satisfying, and the skateboard level right in the middle of the game is a nice change of pace. The ending of the game simply comes down to a boss rush of Trag, Krang, and Shredder. I like this game a lot, but if I had to think of anything bad to say about it, the moveset is a lot better than the NES game, but still lacking. Normal attacks don't feel like they have much impact. It almost feels like you're slicing through air when attacking most enemies. All in all, this game is still a great arcade beat 'em up and manages to hold up well even today. This game was later ported to NES as TMNT 2, the arcade game. It featured several downgrades from the arcade game, like not being able to throw ninjas, but we'll talk more about that later, which actually leads nicely into TMNT 3, The Manhattan Project, released in 1991 for the NES. I wish I could say that this was it. They finally made a good Turtles game for the NES, but sadly I can't. This game is, in modern day terms, simply DLC for Turtles 2, keeping all the downgrades that version also had. Plays almost identically and nearly every sprite is reused. There's little to no advances in gameplay or mechanics. To me, the game just feels like a cash grab, shoving an ever so slightly different story into an already mediocre game and calling it brand new. The ending is even almost identical. Another mini boss rush going from Krang to Shredder, but at least they bothered to add a few new moves. It's not all bad though. Replaced the skateboard level with a surfing one, and for the first time, gave each turtle a unique special attack by pressing A and B at the same time. And pocket sand ninjas, I guess. In my opinion, the game just isn't worth your time. I bet back in the day this was amazing compared to other home console turtle games, but here in 2021, you're better off playing the arcade game before, or if you want something even better,
Pizza Power!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. I don't think there's enough time in the world to talk about how godlike this game is. Remember how highly I talked about the arcade game earlier in the video? Well, this takes that and turns it up to 11. Those small complaints I had about hits feeling weak and a limited moveset are gone in this one, with even new stuff added on top, like being able to throw ninjas at the screen. Easily one of the best beat 'em up mechanics ever created. I can't believe we don't see this in more games. It actually blows my mind how many different animations and attacks they were able to fit in with just one jump and attack button. There were probably 4 or 5 different jumping attacks, depending on where in your jump arc you press the attack button. And on the topic of animation, these sprites are just beautiful. If a new Turtles game was released today with these exact sprites, I don't think anyone would complain. They hold up insanely well and are perfect upgrades over the first arcade game. Getting squashed by a wrecking ball and stubbing your toe look amazing. And don't the turtles just look adorable being trapped in Krang's bubble? They managed to capture the essence and charm of the '87 cartoon so perfectly. The soundtrack helps a lot too. The games we have covered so far have either had easily forgettable music or tracks ripped straight from the show. This one chose to go in a slightly different direction, and all these stages have incredible music. Big Apple 3 AM and Sewer Surfing are some of my favorites. Everything from the Pizza Power opening to Splinter not having any fucking patience makes me happy in this game. And for once, the home console port is actually super faithful. No major downgrades other than obviously a lower frame rate on most animations, and it even has some content that wasn't present in the arcade version. We still have one more game to look at that's based off the 1987 cartoon. TMNT Tournament Fighters is, as you can guess, a 2D fighting game. If you didn't know this game existed, you might be thinking that it's kind of odd for there to be a Turtles fighting game, but let me give you some context. After the release of the cartoon, the Turtles exploded into mainstream popularity. I mean, think about how much Marvel and the MCU have invaded pop culture in the last 10 years. That's how big TMNT was at the time. And also exploding in popularity was Street Fighter. Capcom was already releasing their 4th version of Street Fighter 2 at the time, so a Turtles fighting game heavily influenced by Street Fighter definitely made sense in a boardroom somewhere. So, is it good? Actually, yeah, the game has large detailed sprites, a good sized roster, and every character has different special moves and completely different playstyles. My only real complaint about the roster is the villain choices are super whack. I'm sure they were trying to stick with what villains were actually in the show at the time, but no iconic villains like Bebop, Rocksteady, or even Krang is really surprising to me. The reason this game gets a lot of flack actually is because of the difficulty. Even on the lowest difficulty setting, the AI does not give you a break. You will get jumped in on full screen the frame you throw a fireball, always anti-aired without fail, and even after lowering the difficulty, it took me several tries to win a match. But other than that, it's a great fighting game for its time, and while writing the script for this video, I found out that the Genesis version is actually a completely different game, so maybe some other time we'll have to go look at that one. And well, that's actually it for all the Turtles games based off the original cartoon. There are a few I skipped, like the Hyperstone Heist, which is mostly just recycled assets and rearranged levels from Turtles in Time, but ported to Genesis, which that game was also ported to Mega Drive and renamed Return of the Shredder. And with the final episode of the show airing in 1996, it makes sense that the Turtles would fade out of popularity for a while, and we would have to wait 10 long years until we got another mainline Turtles game. That was part 1 of a 3-part series I'm working on based on all the Ninja Turtles games. Originally I was going to make this one long video, but it took me so long to edit and write the script for this video that I'm gonna have to split it into a few parts. Let me know why you actually love the NES games and my opinion is wrong. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I got a bunch of Turtle games to play, and I'll see you guys in part 2.